Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video discussion for Friday, February 16th, 2024. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Well, we have a cold front that has cleared the region that's supported strong northwesterly winds around 10 to 20 miles per hour throughout the region today, with sky cloud cover and a few flurries here and there. Temperatures this morning range from the mid 20s in the Poconos to the mid 30s over portions of the Hudson River Valley in Connecticut. Again, you can see some of those flurries up here and light snow. Down along the coast, temperatures range from the mid to upper 30s, with again sky cloud cover and that northwesterly wind gusting at times between 20 and 40 miles per hour. So if you have anything outside, well, it might be flying down the street if it's a bit loose. So just be aware of that as we move on through today. Now, when we take a look at our radar and our surface map from WeatherTap, we have the low pressure system out over the Atlantic, and we have a next one developing here around Oklahoma that's going to be tracking towards the Delmarva Peninsula throughout the day and tonight. And that's going to lead to this area of snowfall to move through the region. Now, currently, we have very strong cold air transport. So clearly, the environment is going to be more than cold enough to support periods of light snow, even a few moderate bursts here and there because of this gradient right here. When you see this gradient on this map, and again, you can see this at spc.noaa.gov, free map, well, paid by your tax dollars. So when you see this gradient here, this sets up the potential for phonogenesis. You have packing of your isotherm. So when you have this starting to reverse into more of a warm air transport, well, you're transporting moisture and you're transporting warm air and you're transporting lifting in the atmosphere. And so when we take a look at our jet stream here, you can see the pattern here. Notice it's moving very quickly. And this is a key point here with this storm. The orientation of the polar jet stream and the subtropical jet stream is such that any short wave that is heading this way is going to be moving very quickly because there isn't much of a block. When you're looking for a block, what you want is for this upper level low to be down here, because then that slows down the progression of the storm. In this case, it's too far north. The ridge out here is too far west. I'm pointing this out because it's good to learn what sets up a major snowfall and what doesn't. And so when you're dealing with a minor to moderate snowfall threat, it's good to see what the pattern is, because then you could actually pick out the details when you're looking at longer range guidance of what is and is not favorable. So in this scenario, the ridge is a little bit too far to the west. This upper level low is a little bit too far to the north. And so what you end up with is this confluent pattern with a very fast moving jet stream. So your short wave or low pressure system is going to be moving very quickly as well. This setup also limits how far north the precipitation can get. So with this confluent flow, you're pretty much cutting out New England for the most part, maybe a few flurries around Connecticut, producing a dusting, maybe an inch at most. But the bulk of your precipitation and your lifting is going to be focused down here towards the Delmarva Peninsula, the Philadelphia Metro, and southern New Jersey. So when you take a look at the infrared satellite picture, you can see the lifting starting to become more enhanced. The low pressure system's trying to strengthen, and you can see the stronger lifting here starting to show up with the brighter colors here. We're going with some blues and adding some greens in here. And so this sets up the potential here for some moderate bursts of snowfall. But again, this low pressure system's moving pretty quickly. On the water vapor satellite picture, you can see the shortwave pretty clearly. You can see the whole pattern here very nicely set up here. Our low pressure system from last night is exiting, cold air transport setting in. It sets up the limitation of just how far north this shortwave can get. And as a result, you have the makings here for a nice little southern New Jersey special with a nice little bout of light to moderate snowfall late tonight into tomorrow morning. When you take a look at the latest model guidance here, you can see the strong lifting here that is moving pretty quickly. But around midnight tonight on through tomorrow morning, it exits off the coast really fast. So I'm pointing this out to kind of show, hey, look, this isn't a long duration event in any way, shape, or form. This is fast moving. It's in and out very, very quickly. The one thing that is really going for it in this scenario is the amount of cold air. So the type of cold air we have in place at 925 millibars clearly supports a snow ratio a little bit further away from the coast. Let's say in this area right here of 15-to-1 ratios. Whereas along the coast, you're talking about more than 10-to-1. Okay. And you can see that also very nicely here at 850 millibars with this low pressure system exiting. So again, plenty of cold air. This is all snow. But the difference in the amount of snowfall that we're going to get is really going to be dependent on the ratios setting up for the system. So when we take a look at the data here, we have our low pressure system coming in with snow starting to develop around 10 p.m. and continuing to increase towards midnight. This is going to be a very light, fluffy, dry snow. So this is going to be the type of snow where it's very easy to shovel, and you could literally use a leaf blower to get rid of a lot of the snow as it's moving through. Again, you can see some of those moderate bursts down towards Maryland, Delaware, and southern New Jersey, where I think that's going to be your best chance for your 2 to 4 inches. I could even see the potential for a few isolated locations pushing above 4 inches, maybe 5 inches. But I think that's going to be more isolated than the overall rule here. I think most locations in this moderate band, because of the speed in which it's moving, will probably range around 2 to 4 inches. And just taking a look at the surface temperatures while this event is happening, temperatures are at or below freezing, right around freezing, let's say between 30 and 32 on the coastal plain. And then as you head a little bit further inland towards southeastern Pennsylvania, around Philadelphia, more in the mid to upper 20s. So again, snow accumulation is going to be a no doubt in this scenario. So again, further north, trace to 1 inch, talking about Connecticut, the Hudson River Valley, northeastern Pennsylvania. A little bit closer, a little bit further south, range of 1 to 3 inches. Again, this is a very light snow, very fluffy, very easy to lift, and very dry. And then further south, central New Jersey, southern New Jersey, Philadelphia, southeastern Pennsylvania, the Delmarva Peninsula, looking at 2 to 4 inches of snow. If we get above 4 inches, it's going to be in locations like around York and Lancaster, maybe Chambersburg. But I think that's going to be more isolated because of the fast nature of this low pressure system and the speed at which the precipitation shield moves. If this is moving a little bit slower, this would easily be a 3 to 6 or even a 4 to 8 type snowfall potential. But the low pressure system is simply just moving too fast and too quickly. So that is our light snowfall event. But what about the rest of the pattern? Well, let's step back and take a look at some of the climate factors that we have been keeping an eye on. We start with the SOI. The trend of the SOI has been featuring below normal values, right? Negative values. Now, when you have negative values, this sets up your stormy pattern. But notice the trend is sending more towards a neutral state. So what this tells me is that we're moving away from our stormy pattern. We're moving away from the potential for winter storms, whether they be moderate snowfall events or significant snowfall events, where you're talking about 10, 20 inches, stuff like that. We're moving away from that in the terms of tropical forcing. When you take a look at the MJO, the overall theme here is that, yes, we drop through 8 very quickly, but then we end up in a neutral state and then eventually move towards phase 4. Most guidance shows that. Okay. One solution here from the JMAN, a lot of people are trying to bring this up. I want to just point out, yes, it does take your track along 8, 1, and 2. And in theory, it could support a more active pattern. But the problem is that the overall mean and the average is basically extremely weak. So if it's so weak, it's not going to have as significant of an influence. And then if you want to count this, then you have to consider towards the end of the month, it moves into phase 3, which is a warm phase. So not exactly the best support over the next 10 days, okay, from the JMA guidance. European guidance goes into a neutral state faster. And the long range European guidance also keeps it in a neutral state. This one is more adjusted for the current pattern and the current climate state. And again, it kind of shifts very close to phase four, but again, very weak signal here in tropical forcing. So I don't have, in terms of tropical forcing from the MJO, any strong signal. Certainly not a sustained phase eight that you would need to set up a stormy weather pattern all the way into March. Meanwhile, we also know the SOI is trending more towards a neutral state. Meanwhile, yes, we are starting to see signs for new stratospheric warming starting to take place here, starting to bubble up and get stronger here. And there's definitely support for disruption of the polar vortex remaining weak, but it strengthens again and then trends weak again. By the time it gets to this point out here, the influences are for March. But there's also the devil in the details. See, yes, we have a weak polar vortex, and that certainly supports the potential for high latitude blocking. But details matter. And in this detail situation, while we do have this split for a short period of time, notice it's displaced more towards portions of Quebec and Newfoundland, which means that your focus in your trough is going to be to the east of the East Coast. And as we move further, yes, there's displacement and stretching, but it's all towards Asia. Not exactly the best scenario for us. So there was a lot of talk, myself and many others, of the potential for a very active weather pattern for late February into March. And that idea was starting to work out with a couple of moderate storms. But once we got to within this point under the 10-day period where we started to see how the polar vortex was going to evolve, how the tropical forcing was going to evolve, if you ended up with the polar vortex flipped here and you had this feature here with a neutral MJO state, I would still say game on. Like, hey, look, this could be a very stormy period. But once we got verification and very strong data that this feature was going to shift towards Eurasia, game over. And we've seen this before. We've seen examples of this before, like in 2016, for example, but that was for the whole winter. When you see this data, you cannot stick with the cold, stormy weather pattern. The data just isn't there to support that type of scenario. So when you're dealing with that, you must change your forecast. And so that's why we're seeing here, even 5 days out, the warning signs against staying cold and stormy or making type of any type of advertisement of that. And that is this feature right here over the next 5 days, shifting from the Aleutians and moving towards Alaska. When I saw that, that's the death nail right there. Because once you get an upper level low set up over Alaska and a deep trough over Alaska, that must force a broad ridge over much of the eastern two-thirds of the United States. And so that's essentially what we have here. And it sets up very well on the GFS guidance as well and the European ensembles. So what this leads to is below normal heights or a trough over the western United States and a broad, almost zonal pattern setting up over the eastern two-thirds of the United States. This is a pattern that transports Pacific and polar air, say from this area right here, and sends it across the country. It's not a winter storm pattern in any way, shape, or form. Anyone who's trying to advertise that, I'm sorry, it just isn't there. It's not there. It's not supported. It isn't supported. There is no support for that from the tropical forcing, the forcing from the polar vortex evolution, none of that. So it looks like we're moving into an early spring type pattern. Now, a couple of warnings, okay? Now, this does not mean that we're going to have perpetually above normal temperatures for all of March. One of the things that we're going to have to watch out for is that if you get a trough axis constantly set up right on the East Coast here, with the trough axis like right here, what this sets up then is a lot of backdoor cold fronts and unsettled conditions for March. As one of my wife's favorite Simpsons episodes Actually, I think it was the first one. Basically, we're setting up for lousy March weather. Okay, where you end up with this backdoor cold fronts and unsettled conditions. We get a warm shot, then we get cold again, and it's very unsettled, but not a major winter storm pattern. Just isn't. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see how that all evolves. But of course, we'll continue to work on that in the premium discussions. We update this every day. And for our live chat, which we'll have next week, we'll also follow up on this, and I'm sure a lot of questions will be asked, and I will answer them. So, looking at the forecast for today, breezy today with temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s along the coast. For tonight into tomorrow, here comes our light snow with our low pressure system very quickly moving through the region. Low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 20s over the northern interior, mid to upper 20s along the coast, with periods of light snow exiting for everyone by about 10 a.m. In the afternoon, we'll have clearing skies with temperatures ranging from the upper 20s to lower 30s over the northern interior, lower to mid 30s along the coast. On Sunday, sky cloud cover can be expected with temperatures ranging from the lower to mid teens for lows and high temperatures rebounding into the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, mid to upper 30s along the coast. On Monday, look for a scattered cloud cover with temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 20s for lows and lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, mid to upper 30s along the coast. On Tuesday, high pressure starts to shift off the coast with more of a southwesterly wind. Low temperatures will range from the mid to upper teens. High temperatures will range from the upper 30s to lower 40s throughout the region. On Wednesday, high pressure again remains off the coast with sky cloud cover. Look for low temperatures to range from the lower to mid 20s over the northern interior, mid to upper 20s along the coast. High temperatures range from the lower to mid 40s over the northern interior and along the immediate coast, upper 40s to lower 50s in the Delaware River Valley. On Thursday, a cold front will approach the region with increasing cloud cover but remaining dry. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 20s. High temperatures range from the lower to mid 40s over the northern interior, upper 40s to lower 50s along the coast. The cold front will move through on Thursday evening into Friday morning with some rain and snow showers. Then we're going to watch an area of low pressure developing off the coast that could produce an area of rain and snow along the coastal plain. Some guidance pushes this low pressure system a little bit closer to the coast with a little bit more robust precipitation. Again, a rain snow mix around the region. Look for low temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 20s over the northern interior, lower to mid 30s around the New York City metro, and mid to upper 30s in the Philadelphia metro, and high temperatures ranging from the upper 20s to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s in the New York City metro, and lower to mid 40s in the Philadelphia metro. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful weekend, and as always, stay safe out there.